Hello and welcome everybody to Theory of Anything podcast, episode number 49.2.
Yes.
I am your host, Devon.
Hello, Devon.
Joining me
Hello,
are
Devon.
my co-hosts, Ford
Hello, Ford.
and Dad.
Hello, Dad.
How are you fine gentlemen doing today
Very well, thank you.
I'm
Very
excited. I'm ready to talk about the topic.
at hand?
The subject
In
at hand,
question.
yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. You're all prepped and ready to go.
Excited.
That makes two of
good.
us.
We'll have a good conversation, let's hope.
Obviously today you can probably guess by the title what we're talking about, and that will come up shortly. But first, has anyone got any pickups for us today?
I don't think I have. Let me just check. Obviously, last time we spoke about the scandal in Bohemia, which was the Sherlock Holmes novel or the short story.
Yes.
Previous to that, we did a review on Fall Guys, the game.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't play, but I watched happily.
I think you missed out, to be honest.
Yeah, and then before that, going back a bit further, we've done Thriller by Michael Jackson album.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was good. I enjoyed that one. And before that, the film. So I'll stop there after this one.
Yeah.
The film was Planet of the Apes.
The old one.
Charlton Heston one. Yeah. Any memories of any of those that have returned to you since?
I mean, I've got fond memories of the Planet of the Apes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's probably
How
one
do you
of
think
my
this will
favourites.
stack up?
Well, it's apocalyptic, isn't it? Post-apocalyptic.
Yes.
So
We're back on the old
it's similar. It's got a
apocalyptic
similar feeling to it, doesn't it? I mean,
theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we weren't already living through apocalyptic
Yeah, I know.
times.
trying to escape from it, and you get bombarded by the films.
I haven't listened to any more Michael Jackson, I must admit, and I haven't read any more from Sherlock Holmes either.
Yeah, that's a bit sad, actually.
That is, and I haven't played Fall Guys again yet either.
For the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah. So as far as pickups are concerned, sorry, Devon, I don't think I can help you.
that's okay. Ford, you got anything?
No, that's
Oh, wow.
it from me.
If our YouTube viewings, I know they're quite low often because I like to think anyway that our major audience comes to this through their podcast apps. It's a reflection of the listenership's interest. I don't know, but it's interesting that Scandal in Bohemia has had quite a high number of views highest since actually, going as far back as episode 38,
Yeah.
which had an equivalent kind of number of viewings.
Yeah, that was the Fortnite one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That it's been a higher viewed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So we need to be a hybrid channel of Sherlock Holmes and Fall Guys.
Fort-
Oh, sorry, Fortnite.
Fortnite, yeah.
Mm.
That's where people are interested these days.
I see. Yeah. I don't know how we'd mesh
Yeah.
that together, but I'm sure we could.
Generally, the more video content we've got, so the games that we play, like Eve or Fall Guys and things like that, on YouTube they produce more views. But with Fall Guys, as you say, it got less views than Scandal in Bohemia, so
Yeah,
which is quite
Bizarre,
interesting. Yeah, so you can't
Yeah.
predict it, can you?
no accounting for
No.
votes. Yeah. Anyway,
Off topic.
that's all I wanted to say about
So
that.
yeah, if we've got nothing else to talk about prior, then we could just go straight into it, you know.
And now it's time for film assignment chatting.
So this episode, we have tasked ourselves with the mission of watching and re-reviewing the film I Am Legend by Will Smith in 2007, right? Yeah,
That's
2007.
correct. Yeah.
I gave a little bit of a breakdown, I suppose. This
Go
is,
for it.
well, I guess a little bit loosely based off of Omega Man, which is the film. Was that the earliest one, or was that
No.
book come out before then, Ford?
I think the book came first, yeah.
The book I Am Legend came out first, and then Omega Man, which is based off that.
Yes.
But to be
Yeah.
fair, Omega Man is also loosely based on the book. So
Yes.
we've got a translation of a translation here.
Yes,
Mm.
which I quite like. We follow the journeys of a man called Robert Neville as he traverses New York City, I think it is, all alone, apart from him and his dog. And we find out through various flashbacks that the world has gone to pot, and there's a huge kind of apocalypse going on, and that there's what some may call zombies and some may not.
Okay.
We're going in that route conversation. I wasn't planning to.
I thought it might go there. But basically, we're basically looking through his struggles of being alone and how that translates to him potentially not being alone anymore, fighting for his life, I suppose, for most of it. Yeah.
Yes, as he's struggling to find a cure, isn't he? Because for some reason he's a general in the army, but
Yes.
he's also a medical doctor, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, he's got his lab underneath his house where he's testing on these zombie people or
Is
these
he an
infected people.
epidemiologist? Is that the correct phrase? We should be familiar with these terms, seeing as the last 18 months have been bombarded with kind of
Epidemiologists, obviously the study of epidemics, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we've not been in an epidemic, we're in a pandemic. So,
That's a good point.
could be something different completely.
Good point. Yeah.
I don't know.
Does that mean you've got to be a pademiologist? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, he's got some kind of understanding of what's at large, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess through trial and error, he's just trying different things. Maybe something to do with his blood is good, so he's trying things with that, and because he hasn't turned into a zombie. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, there's three words that were used to describe the bad guys in this. They were either referred to as infected,
Yep.
hemocytes, or the dark seekers.
What is a hemocyte?
A hemocyte, I don't know, but it's referred to in somewhere. I've read that they were. I don't know if it's in some kind of the documentation within the film, but hemocytes was another. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, but at no point are they referred to as zombies. Yeah.
Well, I would like to point out that in the book they are definitely vampires. 100%.
Yes, they are vampires.
Oh, vampires.
Yes,
Ah.
I did listen to a bit of that forward.
Good. Oh, yeah.
And they're talking about putting garlic up to protect themselves and mirrors and things like that to
Seriously?
stop the
Okay.
vampires coming in. Yeah,
And he's making steaks and stuff. Yeah, it's full on vampire.
And he's feeling allured to the vampires as well in some weird way. It's a bit strange.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. So as you can see, and in Omega Man, I'm pretty sure they're full-on zombies, aren't they?
I'd have to go back and watch that again, and I did think to myself it'd been helpful if I had done that before we recorded this, but I'm sorry I haven't had the time.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll make a good pickup.
I think I've only watched it once, and that was years and years and years ago. So
I will try and watch it. I do have it on disc, so I'll try and watch it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this film starts, doesn't it, with the opening scene? There's a woman being interviewed.
Emma Thompson, who, funnily enough, doesn't get any credit at all in the film. No, she's not mentioned. She's uncredited, which is quite unusual for somebody of her caliber. Emma Thompson's the scientist who's interviewed. Yeah, go on forward. What were you going to say about that?
And apparently she's found a cure for cancer by changing measles to work for the body rather than against it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's quite fun.
Yeah.
But that is the cause of, I assume something goes wrong. I guess it gets out of hand.
Yeah. We don't actually hear, do we, what happened, but we see the results of that several years later by the looks of it anyway.
It makes people super aggressive. How did you think the CGI held up in this? I didn't think so. When there's dodgy landscapes and you got the lions and the rats and and the zombies even, it kind of looked a bit janky, I thought. I don't know.
Really?
I mean, it's
Did you believe it?
2007. I thought for 2007 it's quite good, but
It's just that bit where, like, he's driving along and he's just the worst deer hunter ever, and the deer are jumping all over the place, and then he slows down and there's a lion situation. It just doesn't work very well, I thought.
Really?
Yeah, I think they overestimated their abilities there.
I think the scene itself is quite good, but maybe the CGI isn't up to scratch in terms of the lion's face and things like that and some of the movements.
Yeah. There's like hundreds of deer there. I mean, come on, he could easily shoot one of them.
So
What's he doing?
that's a different matter, isn't it? That's not the quality of the CGI. I think that the CGI is if the composition of the number of animals is a concern, that's one thing. But it didn't jump out at me as being shanky though.
Oh, really?
I thought it was relatively good for what is effectively a 15-year-old film nearly.
Yeah. To compare it, Spider-Man 3 came out then.
Right.
We got Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. I know you don't particularly like that. I'm trying to find ones that are heavily CGI. Transformers, the first one.
The bad guys in Pirates of the Caribbean are all CGI, aren't they?
Yeah, the water sea cursed ones that turn into barnacles and things.
Yeah, that's pretty believable. I
think the CGI in the Dead Man's Chest and at World's End, the second and third one, are really, really good. Very good. Yeah. If I were compared to that film to I Am Legend in CGI, then yeah, I'd say Pirates of the Caribbean is better. But I would argue it's probably got a bigger budget, maybe. I don't know. It's
I
Disney
wonder how much of the what we're going to call them, the infected or the dark seekers or the
Vampires.
Zombies.
Hemocytes, or zombies. How much of that was CGI and how much of it was make-upped acting?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I assumed it was all CGI, but
No,
yeah, it's a
don't
good question.
think It is. Yeah, I think a good amount of it. I think, especially on faces and things, I think that was probably makeup rather than CGI.
But like a lot of the running and things had a lot of weight to them, so I would be surprised if it was CGI. It looked quite good.
Yeah, this film takes a little while to get going, I think. Maybe you're supposed to sort of feel the slowness and the loneliness, and maybe that's the point. I was just kind of...
definitely.
It's like the day in, day out type thing, isn't it? Yeah, just doing the same thing.
Yeah. How has he survived all this time? Yeah.
Yeah.
His sort of matter of factness about being in a city completely alone is what's quite striking, I think. I mean, you talked about the environment. Apparently, a lot of that was real.
Really?
They would take over. I think they were given just like 24 hours in some places to completely dress the sets, and they did film in the locations that we think we're seeing.
Yeah, they got Grand Central Viaduct, several blocks of Fifth Avenue and Washington Square Park completely like closed off, so they could film there.
Yeah. Which is phenomenal, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one thing it did occur to me was I really liked the environments. I believed it was that city that had been neglected for that number of years, and the destruction and the obvious apparentness of an abandonment had happened. The rush at which people were trying to leave.
Oh yeah.
And it reminded me greatly of playing the Last of Us games. Because I don't know if you've experienced either of those two games yet, but I'm in the middle of playing the second one, and it's part of what appeals to me about that game is what happened here. Look at this. How did it get like this? What does that? Those vehicles, those buildings, half destroyed. And fascinating. Really, really. That's why I enjoyed this film in the way that I did, I think.
Yeah,
probably
and I think that's why it started off slowly, to try and set the scene.
Exactly.
To build the world in a place like New York, which is the complete opposite of what we're seeing. It's somewhere that's no people at all. It's quiet and it's natural.
Yeah.
It's like that's just the opposite of what New York is, or any major city. And it's very striking. Rather than having like a scene in the countryside, that could be deserted, but it'd be quite normal. Whereas in the middle of New York City, it's
something similar was done with the 28 Days Later film.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that, and I don't know if it was so much in the 28 Weeks Later, but the first one, 28 Days, was again a if you like, infected / zombie film. It also used the abandoned streets of London as a set, so that was quite an interesting comparison, I think.
Yeah, I think when I say it takes a little while to get going, I'm thinking of the 28 minutes till you see the first zombie sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you're already starting in that zombies are everywhere sort of world.
Yeah, but you got the flashbacks still to give to build up. Like, what is happening?
Happened?
To try and create a sort of linear story, even though you've got flashbacks.
I thought it was funny in the flashbacks where you see people wearing masks, and it's like, oh yeah,
that's right, yeah.
But only the military guys are wearing masks. So what's that about? Did you get a real COVID feel to the flashback?
I did a bit, yeah. Definitely in that extraction. Not that we ever had anything experience quite like that, but the panic and the anxiety that was going on, and the scene that affected me the most was when the woman tries to hand him the little girl that she's got.
Oh yeah,
and her eyes are starting to bleed, and that was really.
It's gut punch.
Yeah. Oh, you think, gosh, she's about to turn.
Yeah.
It's what you don't see, I think, that affects you the most.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think as well. I'll just say this. Yeah, exactly. This slow start is, I think, as well, the insight into his everyday life, that how he's coped. I mean, he comes home every evening and he restocks his larder and he's watching the television, and his home comforts seem very nice, don't they? And
Yeah.
he's created a safe environment for himself, and he's obviously got an alarm that tells him when you've got to get home on his wristwatch. What was also interesting, we had to see and the communication with the mannequins. That was something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, me too.
Fred.
Yeah.
Do you think he's actually going insane, or do you think he's just being funny?
Have you read my notes? I've just written that. I thought I'll say, was he going mad? And I think particularly in his response to that mannequin that he appeared not to expect to see, which leads to him being trapped, which leads to him.
That's right. Okay.
His dog.
So there's a scene where he's driving along, and one of the mannequins he talked to earlier
Fred
turns up in the middle of the street, and he loses it, and he falls into a trap because of it.
I think he.
Yeah. But who set the trap? Who set it?
Maybe the infected are getting quite smart.
The infected. So I think it was that alpha one, wasn't it? The one that referred to as the alpha zombie in a lot of the reading I've done about this.
Well, he's the one who sprung the trap. He was the one holding the dogs, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
According to, in terms of like whether he was going mad or not, apparently, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when he calls out to Fred on the street, the mannequin looks like it moves its head a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it was actually being played by a mime to try and mess with people's minds, to try and make them feel like they were going a bit crazy as well.
Yeah.
So it was about like his sanity.
It's him. Yeah.
Well, in the book version, I'm not going to do this many times, but in the book version, he is definitely going insane. Like, there's no two ways about it. He's crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of vague in this, so I didn't know if that was intentional or not. But
But I did ask that question: was he going mad? Because in many ways, he seems to have got it all together. He's doing his experimenting, he's doing his testing.
I don't know, because he's feeding his dog veg. I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's
when it gets to nighttime, like you're talking about the creature comforts he has at home. When it gets to nighttime, the world outside picks up and creates a horrible noise, and he ends up just sleeping in the bath with his dog,
hiding in the bath.
Like the amount of stress that he's undergoing, like there's no wonder that his, like, I don't know, his sanity is suffering, or his mental health is suffering. And it's just like everything outside wants to kill me, and I'm just in here.
Plus the trauma of he's just lost his wife and daughter. Well, not just lost, but he had previously lost his wife and daughter. And I think the most disappointing scene of the film. I find that in terms of implausibility.
The two helicopters.
Yeah.
I think they could have done something more interesting, couldn't they? Like, made a part where he has to choose between, I don't know, putting them down or something like that if they've turned, or anything like that. But
there was about 6 people hanging off the bottom of that helicopter that eventually proceeds to crash into his wife's helicopter, and 6 people hanging off the bottom of a helicopter don't make it go out of control like that.
Maybe it's just a really bad pilot.
And it was an even worse pilot, because you do have some kind of control over a helicopter when it's going out of control. You can still kind of avoid. He could have dumped that in the river rather. It didn't have to crash into the only other helicopter that was nearby.
Yeah.
I
think it could have been done better, because this is the same premise that needs to be concluded. He lost his wife and his daughter. It's just, but there were so many better ways to do it. I think that made it more impactful. That was just kind of like a random fluke type thing. It didn't feel.
It was a bit of a disappointment, that bit was for me.
Well, speaking of
maybe
extreme, maybe
let's finish. Maybe the whole point was that it was a random fluke due to human negligence and people's fault rather than the virus's fault, because they didn't die to the virus. They died because people got selfish and wanted to jump on board this helicopter.
Speaking of extremely sad deaths, the dog. So is that the saddest dog death ever, or is John Wick in the running? What do you think?
Marley and me.
I haven't seen John Wick.
You haven't seen John Wick?
No.
Oh, wow. Oh, my days.
Sorry.
I hope you don't like dogs.
I go back to what I was saying about the whole dog death comes about because he made a mistake. It was his fault, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when he's carrying the dog after the attack, he's now able to run a lot quicker than before.
Yeah.
If he'd run as fast as that before the dog attack with the other dogs, there wouldn't have been a dog death. Is my thoughts on that anyway.
Yeah.
But when he gets back, we all know what's going to happen, or we presume what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen, and just to again, it's not what you see; it's what you don't see, isn't it?
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
he
because it
brings-
focuses on his face rather than on
it's
the dog.
his face, yeah.
And how much
Isn't
he's
there-
is struggling.
Yeah, isn't there a sadder dog death in Marley and Me?
No one cares about that. Maybe.
Okay. Quite
Mm.
different dog death in Marley and Me.
Yeah. I think it's quite
Yeah.
it's quite crazy that that dog survived that long.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's not immune. If he gets bit or scratched, then it's game over for him.
Yeah.
Just like anyone else, apart from our man Neville, I suppose.
Well, in this film, it's 3 years. In the book, it's like 6 months or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to some people, I guess.
Yeah.
That would allow for the understanding of his mental condition, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, 6 months. I don't think you wouldn't lose it that quickly. But
Well-
yeah.
Well, in the should I do the in the book
In the
bits
book,
now?
in the book.
yeah,
go
go
for it.
on.
All right, in the book, it's so much better because I can't recommend it enough. It's very different in tone and message, and
Yeah.
there's sadder dog stuff, if you can believe it, and it's a different ending. So in the book, you've got the vampires sentient, and they're talking and they're teasing him out every night, and they're screaming his name and stuff. And it's as if the book is meant to be horror. This, I think, is more thriller. What does it say?
Yeah.
It is a thriller film. Although it's pretty good for a horror book. I've never really indulged in horror very much, but that was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. So
I do want to finish it, to be fair. Yeah, I did enjoy what I listened to.
You're hooked.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's
got-
very
it's
short.
got great tones to it.
Are you listening or reading?
I was listening because that's what Ford sent me, but I might read it
Okay.
because it's better reading it.
The I Am Legend title, it doesn't make sense in the film. Not in the same way it does in the book, anyway.
Okay, yeah. It's referred to as him being a legend, isn't there? You know, which I didn't. I've
Yes.
always wondered why it's titled "I Am Legend."
But it
yeah.
seems a bit forced. Like they made that scene because of the title rather than the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he would never have said that, would he? It's
No.
not. I am legend. It's not something he would say of himself. So.
Yeah.
Well, in the book, it's a very different meaning to that phrase. I'll just say I can't recommend it enough, but yeah. That's the end. That's the end of my in the book bit.
What's the meaning?
Okay.
I
You
can't.
don't want to spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it for people. It's the whole point
Oh,
of
right,
the
okay.
book.
Then, yeah.
The I Am Legend
Don't
bit,
tell
and
me.
it's not what you think. So eventually, a woman shows up.
Oh,
He gives up on life after losing his dog or some such, and he kind of commits a suicide run, trying to kill as many vampires as
did,
possible.
Possible Kasi, yeah.
And I suppose you could say that was a little bit weird because he still had a task to, even without a dog, he still had to try and find a cure, didn't he?
Yeah, but we know his mental health was suffering. Like
Yeah.
he's what's he got to hold on to apart from the vague hope that maybe one day he'll find
He
some
could
kind of cure.
Save mankind.
But after 3 years of trying, you're by yourself. You get no input from anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
I
he-
think the human
he ha-
psyche is quite fragile. Yeah.
So very coincidentally, at this particular moment, a woman shows up and saves his life.
Just at the
with,
right time.
Yeah, with a kid, and yeah,
And what I presume to be a flare, right?
Yes.
Which kind of I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking because generally
here-
I did
here it
enjoy
comes.
this film, but I don't think flares give off UV light, which is what was proven to affect in an earlier scene when he was doing an experiment on an infected person he got in his lab. He uses the word UV light and shows a reaction to the skin, but this I thought was a flare gun of some sort
Yeah.
Yeah.
that causes the zombie, infected hemocyte that was about to kill him to run away.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tell what's going on in that scene, but
yeah, because we're seeing it from the main character's perspective, and
Yeah.
he's kind of knocked out. It's all sort of blurry, sort of thing, isn't it?
yeah. But I thought I don't think that's. You hear the sound of a flare gun almost going, one of those hand torch flares. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't think that would be enough to react
They,
to.
they do
a
produce
zombie.
heat, but yeah, it's not UV light, is it?
No, because he'd just need like a flamethrower. He'd be fine, wouldn't he? You
Yeah.
know, you'd be better off with a flamethrower than a machine gun, almost. You know. Anyway, that was just one slight criticism. Yeah. So her turning up just at the right time was very good, very nice.
Nice of her, yeah.
Yeah, very good of her.
Spot
Yeah.
on. And then it's obviously his struggles of acclimatizing to be with people again.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really know how to talk to them, how to behave with them.
Yeah, he starts talking about music and he talks about Bob Marley, and the woman doesn't know. Now,
Yeah.
I know nothing. I know nothing about music, literally. Well, almost literally. And even I've heard of Bob Marley. Well, come on,
Yeah, that's a bit, yeah.
this woman's insane.
'Cause it's not been like decades, has it, that she wasn't born back then? It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's been 3 years and she's an adult. So
I think it was the Bob Marley quote that I wrote that really kind of it was a nice inclusion. I think.
Yeah,
it was
I like
Bob
that.
Marley.
Yeah,
The people who are trying to make this world worse are not taking a day off. How can I? And then I think it was light up the darkness. Is that the quote you were thinking?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he uses it to much better effect in the story.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But it's a great quote, isn't it? And it's a great point. And it kind of, if I want to inject a little bit of spiritual content
Oh,
into it, I think that's true of Christians as well, isn't it?
do you think most Christians take the day off?
Well, we can't afford to take the day off, can we? Certainly in our prayer lives. It's just a thought, just a passing thought.
yes.
And also, there is other spiritual content in this film because Anna, the woman he meets who saves his life, seems to have a faith, doesn't she?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, that's her belief. And he contradicts himself in this film, I think, because he says to her there is no God, but earlier on he tells Anna that God didn't do this.
People did it.
People did it. We did it. Yeah, we did it. Or people did it. I think. Yeah. So it's like.
Well, I think that could be said by an atheist.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit heart-wrenching if you think about it, because at the very beginning, when he's trying to get his family out in the flashback, he's praying with them, isn't he?
Yeah.
As they're about to leave, he prays with them,
Yeah.
and then they die.
Yeah.
And then you see him in the future, and he's clearly lost his faith.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's they don't make a big deal of that, but yeah, it's kind of.
It's a nice touch, isn't it?
Yeah.
To show how he's doing.
It can show you how, when terrible circumstances hit, it can be enough sometimes to shake a faith that's not. How can I word this? It can shake some faith, can't it? Some people's faith when circumstances go against you.
Yeah.
I don't over spiritualize it, but I do think some people, when those things happen, when tragedy hits, you either draw closer to God or you blame God, don't you? That can be the two kind of reactions that a lot of people might have.
Yeah.
You draw closer to Him to get through it and rely on your faith, or it's a time which can cause you to walk away from Him.
Marley Neville, Robert Neville's daughter, was actually played by Will Smith's daughter.
Yes.
Willow
that's
Smith.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was like,
Yeah.
Also, coincidentally, the bad guys find his house and rush it and break in, and this is a big action scene, and we come to the climax.
Before you get to that, did you notice that it's his own defences, explosions that he set, that seemed to make the house vulnerable? If he hadn't set off those explosions, the shutters on the windows wouldn't have broken.
Oh, you reckon? Okay.
I think he'd been better off not blowing those bombs up outside his own house.
I see.
Because I think that's how the infected got in. Anyway, that's just a point I thought. I seem like I'm picking fault with this, doesn't it?
So they work their way down to the lab they have in the basement and lock themselves in a sort of containment room. And they find that the zombie/vampire, whatever, has been cured by his blood or some such.
Yeah.
Well, then they're like, oh, what do we do with this information? We haven't got time to do anything. And it's a bit of a, oh, wow, but how do we go about, I don't know, doing anything? How do we go about not dying and preserving this information at the same time?
Which then leads on to what I think is the world's stupidest sacrifice ending,
Yeah, I agree.
where he dies for the cause and had no reason to whatsoever.
He didn't have to, did he?
No, not at all. He blows up the room.
Yeah.
Wait, why couldn't he get in the thing as well?
And then
because
throw
they know that they're in there because they've just seen them go in there.
But they would have all blown up, so that wouldn't matter.
I guess you could
He
timing
could have-
it by throwing the nade and then when the glass is breaking at the right time, I suppose. I don't know. But the point was he broke the glass with head honcho guy so that they would die in the explosion as well. Whereas the bulletproof glass, if the grenade went off before it broke, then it wouldn't have killed them or something like that. I don't know. That's what I got from it. That's why he ran into it.
Yeah, I think I'd have tried the other option myself, but and tried to have the door, the little secret door a little bit open and wait for the glass to break and throw the grenade out.
Yeah.
But have you guys taken the effort to watch the alternative ending of this film?
I did.
Oh,
No.
wow.
Yes. Yeah,
Did you prefer that option?
I kind of did, but I don't know how they finish it. How does it end?
You see them driving off together, don't you? You don't see them arrive at the other camp, do you? You see them driving. Yeah, have you seen it, Devon?
No. What's it? What is it?
Okay.
So there's an alternate ending where instead of him crazily smashing his head against the glass, Will Smith brings out his... Oh yeah, before I should have said, nearing the middle of the film, Will Smith captures one of the vampires, and it's a woman, and he's testing his cures on her. And it turns out that the reason these vampire zombie people have been coming after him so hard is because he happens to have stolen the head honcho bad guy's wife. I don't know.
I think daughter.
Oh, really? Daughter? Okay.
Yeah. I read somewhere that there was speculation it could have been his daughter.
Fair enough.
Because of the butterfly connection. Remember, his daughter made the symbol of a butterfly, and then the by the way, nobody's calling them vampires. The Dark Seeker. Yeah, but we're not reviewing the book. The Dark Seeker also makes the in the alternative ending, he makes the marks with his hands of a butterfly on the glass.
Ah, okay.
But in the actual released ending, the cracks in the glass form the shape of a butterfly, so it disconnects that butterfly symbolism from the Dark Seeker, the alpha zombie, and so it means it's less connected to the zombie than it is to him, the butterfly symbolism.
Yeah,
I didn't even see that. Wow.
In the alternative one, he makes this shape on the glass of a butterfly, and so it's almost as if it's like a daughter connection with the healing infected woman, presuming to be his daughter.
Yeah. So in this alternate ending,
the side of the glass. Yeah.
On the alternate ending, he pushes the car out. He opens the door slowly.
It's very tense. Very tense.
He pushes the car out slowly, and yeah, I don't know. They're okay with it in the end. They just walk off.
And they walk off with the healing infected woman.
Right.
And I guess the implication with that is that maybe they just cured themselves because she's cured. Maybe the cure spreads like a virus. I don't know.
Could be. But it shows that there is some inkling of humanity still within the hemocytes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, they think they care about family and they care about hierarchies as well, having a head honcho.
Yeah.
They know how to use dogs as pets and things like that.
Yeah.
Like they're not your average zombies that you would see in a film.
They're not brainless, are they?
No.
I wanted to talk briefly about the budget.
Okay. Go on.
They spent 150 million on it, and they got 585 million. So it was at the box office. Obviously, they get more in reality, but yeah, so that's pretty successful.
Huge success.
Good return. Yeah, I think it's easy to find fault with, and I've done a lot of that here, but also very easy to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean it's an action thriller film, and it's hard to find a thriller film that doesn't have its problems because life isn't actually that thrilling if you think about it. They have to create scenarios that wouldn't be very plausible.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Some that could be avoided, like with the helicopter thing, whatever. But yeah, I think overall, I think it was a good film. It's enjoyable, you see.
I think they did a good job of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of attention to detail as well.
Will Smith did a good job in his role. I felt for him. He's a good character, well played, I think.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thrown by some of the special effects. I thought generally they were quite convincing. But maybe I should look more closely.
I mean, if it was released today, then yeah, I'd be like, oh, what is this trash, you know? But but for 2007, I guess it's passable.
So, how many people hanging off helicopters out of 10 do you give?
Well, I counted 6, but I might go a little bit more than that. I think there was only about 6 in the film. I'm heading towards an 8, I think. 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I liked it that much, yeah.
Brilliant. I was going to give it a 7.5.
I would give it an 8 as well. I like it. I liked it more before I read the book, weirdly enough.
Oh, really?
And on reflection, maybe that's because I know more about films now and I see pacing issues with this, and it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
8 people hanging off helicopters out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
It's still quite good. Like, it's very good.
But yeah, like you said, implausibilities, you're going to have to take a rain check, aren't you? You just got to enjoy what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes you watch an action film, you sort of call it a thriller, maybe more like towards the action end of that. Sometimes you know you're going to have to disengage your own brain to get any enjoyment out of it. With this, my brain was fully engaged. I was intrigued by this scenario. How did we get here? As I say, the environments were very
Immersive.
Visceral.
yeah, very immersive. Yeah, very. I'm love all that. You know.
It
know
it
it's
set
not
the
real,
world very
but
well.
obviously it's a film, but I pictured the scenario that gets. Why is that car on its side? And it's all,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's the story behind each and every bit of the setting? You know that we're looking at. Which is why I've enjoyed playing the Last of Us games, because that's a similar story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Would you want to live in the I Am Legend world?
Not really, no. I wouldn't mind living in that place where they end up at the very end of the film. That seems quite nice.
A little small village. You can't drive any Ferraris in a small village.
No, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Ferrari, wasn't it? A Mustang.
Is it? Yeah, it's a
no,
Mustang or something. Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. But you should know it was a Mustang.
Yeah, Devon.
Your name being Ford, you know.
Oh.
Anyway,
It's like a challenge or something, maybe. I don't know.
can we presume? I'm also intrigued by what's the rest of the world doing while this is happening. Is the rest of the world, because they cut off Long Island, didn't they, New York,
Yeah.
in an attempt to prevent it spreading, and it seems as though that didn't work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because why would the place that she ends up at the very final scene be so isolated and impenetrable if the infection hadn't spread further? Do we know what the rest of the world is like?
They didn't mention it, did they? And I think that would have been quite interesting. Maybe it's just a American-centric film, and that's all you got to worry about. America.
I feel like that's like a device that you could use as well to create the tension as well, because you don't know if it is the end of the world right now or if it is just his story. Do you know if you can expect help anytime soon? He doesn't know at all. Because I'd say he's lost contact with anyone. Yeah. So maybe he's also half holding out for that as well. Maybe there's people a few miles away trying to help me or something.
I mean, the tagline for this film was "The last man on Earth is not alone."
I was just trying to find that. I was just looking for that information.
But then what's the chances that he runs into the lady? Like, there's got to be like small groups of people still out there.
Yeah.
Maybe none of these scientist people, general peoples, but
Right, he's buff as well. What's that? I don't understand.
he's just the best guy ever. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got
The classic
a little...
Will Smith role.
Oh yeah, well, he's doing his pull-ups, isn't he? At one scene. I've just read somebody's written on IMDb about it. The 1954 sci-fi vampire novel I Am Legend, which is probably the one that you're reading, by Richard Matheson, has now been filmed 3 times as The Last Man on Earth in 1964, originally scripted by Matheson himself, and as The Amiga Man in 1971 without the vampire elements, and now with the original title and the expansive sets and special effects. So that's the one we've been talking about today, I Am Legend.
Yeah, so The Last Man on Earth is vampires as well.
So there's 1 book and 3 films. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know.
I didn't know that The Amiga Man was a sequel to another version. Yeah, not a sequel, a remake of another version.
Yeah.
Is that a wrap?
I think it is. I think we've given that a fair go.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we definitely tried, didn't we?
I think we liked it.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely.
We pulled it to pieces, but we still enjoyed it. Yeah.
If you guys have anything to say about this film, then please let us know. You can obviously write into us or comment or do all these kind of things. It's quite easy to get in contact. For next review episode, we are going to apparently, due to popular demand, review an album by 21 Pilots called Scaled and Icy.
Yes.
Is that right?
Icy.
Is that right? Scaled and Icy? Yeah.
Oh, we'll be told if it's not. Don't you worry.
Yeah, definitely will. Yeah. Yeah.
I can check. Do you want me to check?
Yeah.
Scaled and Icy. Yeah.
Yeah. Scaled and Icy. Brilliant.
Great.
So please feel free, listeners, to listen to that and write in under this comment section or to our Twitter or Facebook or email or whatever, anything you fancy, and tell us what you think about it or any suggestions or anything, yeah, we'll be happy to potentially read out your comment to the rest of the world, or not.
And all those contact points are available in the description.
Yes.
Thank you. If you're not going to say them, we'll tell them where they are.
Yeah, I think everyone knows by now, though. Like,
What if you've just if you just alighted on this marvelous piece of podcast without ever seeing it?
if you've never
hearing it
touched YouTube
before?
before and you don't know the comment section exists, then yeah,
exactly.
I suppose.
And we're the first YouTube video you've ever looked at.
Yeah. And if you scroll down on the little scroll thing at the right-hand side, then you'll be able to get to the comment section, or better yet, the description, to find out other links.
And the little thumbs up thing gives you £100 cash. Don't even
instantly.
Just click.
Yeah.
And if you are new to us and you weren't that bothered about what we've talked about, don't forget we don't just talk about films and science fiction and zombies. We talk about video games. We talk about music, which we'll be doing on our next review podcast. We talk about technology and TV shows and books. Amongst all of that, there's a great big smattering of our Christian faith and how that impacts the stuff that we otherwise listen to, watch, and enjoy.
Yes.
Is that a good summary?
Yeah, it's a good pitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So don't be put off by one subject, is what I'm saying. Keep listening, keep watching, and you'll hopefully find something you enjoy.
Cool. And I guess that's it. See you in a bit.